Hey kids, it's Jurassic James from Jurassic Explains. We are answering questions from a fan. It turns out an Ethan Bradberry, 7-year-old from Houston, Texas, or the Houston area, has painstakingly taken notes and had questions for me. He's been wanting to ask me for over a year or two now. I worked with his mother, Stephanie Bradberry, at the Science Museum for a while. She kept all the animals alive, even the sharks. And so he has been writing these questions, and I am telling you now, we're going to go through them, I'm going to answer them, and I enjoy this. And for the record, I want to say one very important thing. Ethan Bradberry, of the Houston area, you are my best friend. Not my wife, not my mother, brother, sister, my dad. You are my best friend. Not my friends I go digging with and everything, or hang out with. You are, just for the record, on the internet forever. You're my best friend. Thank you. The first question is, number one, can a T-Rex jump? And the answer is very simple. Yes, no, and maybe. What I'm saying by that is, most of the research I've seen out there, looking around, has been about how fast T-Rex can run, not so much can jump. And the jumping focuses on other dinosaurs anyway. So I will answer this by saying yes, no, and maybe. The yes being, this is a model of a baby T-Rex in which I did a video on this guy about a month ago, 2 months ago. And it was a gift from my friend Jim Connor. And we have never found a baby T-Rex. You say, wait a minute, I saw an article, I Googled an article, it says baby T-Rex. That animal is like 15 feet long. That is not a baby as a teenager. A baby meaning something that's smaller, something that can fit on this desk maybe. We've never found that. So any understanding of baby T-Rexes would be based on growth rings, possibly in the bones of adult Tyrannosaur found, or two, comparing to their cousins, other Tyrannosaurs who we have found younger examples of. So for the baby T-Rex here, like if this thing were real, I mean, I imagine the baby a little bigger, it could jump. Something this small could jump. It can hop around, right? We're thinking basically bird anatomy. If you saw the Lost World Jurassic Park 1997, the sequel to the original Jurassic Park, back in the last century, kids, this is a model of the original model of the baby T-Rex. In the movie, spoiler, almost 30 years going, spoiler, the leg broke in the movie, and if you put this little there's a little peg right there, you plug into the hole right there, and it fixes the leg. And that was the coolest thing ever when I was a kid. So the point is, what I like about this model is it has these long legs. And so in general, when animals are young, vertebrates on land are young, they have these big eyes and these little noses and these long legs, and they grow into their body. Big feet, which is really, I mean, this could be an engineering thing, but it's big feet, right? And so the adult Tyrannosaurus wouldn't be as lanky. And so again, the juveniles may be able to kind of jump a little bit. As far as the adults go, that's where they maybe comes in. Saying no is just me saying we don't know. No one I've never seen a paper. And if you have one, if you're one of my paleo friends, put in a description, a comment or a link or something, because I've not seen a paper saying of T-Rex on this topic actually. And T-Rex is the most researched dinosaur in history of dinosaurs. So if there's anyone looking at jumping Tyrannosaurus, it's going to be out there somewhere. I will give an example of this by a distant cousin of T-Rex. Because, I mean, every article shows any predatory dinosaur, oh, cousin of T-Rex. But this is called Acrocanthosaurus. I mentioned it before, one of my first videos, I believe. And Acrocanthosaurus, this is a pop-up figure. If you take your phone and you put in their GPS, Dinosaur Valley State Park, you can go and see footprints that we attribute to this guy. And so there's a very common and famous copy of these footprints here of the Acrocanthosaurus. This was given to me by a professor many years ago. And so the idea is that this is a cast of that. And so the footprints we have now don't quite show this, but the original description of the tracks show the acro hunting an animal that was not Brachiosaurus, but it was Brachiosaurus-like, running behind it, because it was a different time period. It was Brachiosaurus is Jurassic, so early Cretaceous, running after it and or walking briskly, and it comes up behind the prey, and then at one point the predator's tracks go away, and it go back into the mud. And there are two hypotheses: either A, it jumped into the predator, which I've seen that before, or B, it may have been onto it and got pulled forward. If you ever try to grab onto a large animal, if you've ever been on a horse or a cow, it's we don't think about how big they are, but they really are big moving animals. And so that could have been interpreted as a jump or not. So that's why I like the no, maybe kind of comes in. But overall, the answer is we don't know. So there's an idea for you. But again, most of the research I've seen on Tyrannosaurs and their legs is about how they walk and how fast they can run. Number 2, next question, how many dinosaurs were there? And the answer is complicated. So the idea is that Uh, First of all, we're saying dinosaurs. Think how many non-avian dinosaurs, because birds are dinosaurs, and the non-avian dinosaurs are called birds, and there are about 10,000 species today, much less in the fossil record. Then you should consider genus and species. What is a dinosaur? It's a class I teach, actually. And so genus like Homo sapien. Our genus is Homo, our species is sapien. There's other hominids for humans, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo habilis. They're all the same genus with different species. So as far as genuses go, it's somewhere around 300, 310 that are recognized. Maybe up to 600 were given out there, but a lot of those were being debated and argued. Species-wise, somewhere under 1,500, somewhere in that range, 1,500 that are recognized. I say recognized that most of the scientists are like, yeah, that's the thing, but part of paleontology is constantly debating information. So I would say we know of about 1,500 species, right, of dinosaur, and there's 10,000 living dinosaurs today. And so the answer would be billions and billions of dinosaurs. I mean, they're living over 160 million years, and they're in all these different continents and environments, so there's lots of them, but we're only finding so much. Remember, to be a fossil, you must die first. You must be quickly buried. You must also be not like covered in lava, low energy environment to be lucky. So most of what has ever lived is dead in the fossil record, right? Like 99 point whatever percent. But even more than that, to become a fossil is really rare. And so unfortunately, there are dinosaurs that existed that weren't very successful, and they were a dinosaur species, and they were wiped out in the erasing fossil record forever. You will never know they existed, period. And we keep finding, Triceratops, yay, or Diplodocus and sauropods, but it's just something that again, your question is very simple, but it's very complicated actually. And so I would say again, around 310 genuses, 1,500 species, thousands of modern birds today, right? Number 3, can Brachiosaurus stand on his hind legs? Now, if you're thinking of what I'm thinking of, it's that iconic scene in Jurassic Park where a first of the Brachiosaurus doing whale calls. I know they don't sound like whales, but it makes me very happy to hear that scene. And so the idea is it's rearing on his hind legs. And again, the name Brachiosaurus, this is very important. Glad you asked. Brachiosaurus means arm lizard. The first specimen found, they found some scapula, some vertebra. They found an arm and a leg. And it was notable that the arm was longer than the leg. So brachio means arm, and saurus means lizard. And so the arms were, it slopes his body upwards. Now, if you watch Jurassic Park, and I hope you do regularly, it rears up, and if you look at where its head was when it was not reared up, and where it goes when it is reared up, it's like a few feet. So, I mean, yes, that could be a difference between a nicer plant, leaf, but the research on this, because the question is, could sauropods in general do this? And that's a lazy way of not you, but the people who ask this question, because sauropods are very diverse. That's like saying, well, humans can use knives. Can orangutans and gorillas make knives? Well, there's a difference between a human and a orangutan and a gorilla. So, for example, in the Morrison, my beloved Morrison Formation, the late Jurassic, we have Brachiosaurus, who's very rare. We have Diplodocus. This is a 2017 safari, Diplodocus. We have an Apatosaurus. This is 2010 Apatosaurus. A lot going on there. Formerly Brontosaurus, now it's just Apatosaurus, the whole thing. And then Camarasaurus is a 20... Oh, that's weird shading. Oh, I can't even see that. Wow. I am getting old. 2019 Safari. And so these are all different kinds of sauropods. Now there's 2 major types in this scenario. The Brachiosaurus and the Camarasaurus are in a group called Macronaria, and that's a group that includes the Titanosaurs, actually, and Diplodocus and Apatosaurus in a Diplodocus group. So, in general, at the time of Brachiosaurus discovery, most of the sauropods, being Barosaurus, who I don't have a toy of, Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, their arms were generally shorter than their legs. And so we associate those guys with low feeding like this. And given the vegetation of the Morrison Formation, you would see these kind of plains of ferns and things, and then you would see these trees and everything. So they're eating low for the most part, right? For these guys, Dr. Bacher and the others suggest that they could rear up because the center of mass is somewhere in here, and so the idea they can rear up on their hind legs. They have air-filled lungs. The heart's pretty heavy, air sacs and hollows, very heavy guts back here. You can probably rear up like that, right? These guys, but Brachiosaurus center of mass is not back here. It's really kind of up here. And again, I'm talking about it in a lot of papers. It's not just my life. I think it's this. There's this people have been researching this for a long time, and so the idea is that the center of mass is here. So it shouldn't have to. I think that if it did, I mean, I would say generally no, it wouldn't do that. But I might say it's impossible because one thing I learned in biology and nature is that living things are always breaking the rules or bending the rules of nature. And so, like, when you think about an elephant's pretty big. They are pretty. You don't want them falling or tripping, but you can see elephants like rolling around in the mud. That's kind of a weird, like, your understanding of anatomy wouldn't show you that, but then they do it, right? And there's a lot of things like, for example, how would you know from the fossil record that a sperm whale ate giant squid? Well, they would take a mammal, big gulp of air, dive down into the ocean to find colossal giant squid and then battle them. Now, today we figured it out today because these guys have sucker marks on their body from squids, and they find them beaks. And because they can't digest the beaks, all cephalopods, squid, octopi, have beaks, and they find them in their stomach. So, like, that's something that, in the paleontology record, a future paleontologist will find a sperm whale fossil and be like, oh, look, there's a giant beak in there. They ate squid. But we didn't understand that at first on the surface looking at these things until more recently, right? Historically speaking. Anyway, so I would say most likely not, but find more evidence. Somebody put it in the comments. Number 4. How fast can Brachiosaurus run? Well, again, Brachiosaurus is a very, very, very rare long neck. I remember I was digging in South Dakota with the Black Hills, and where we were digging, they found a Brachiosaurus bone like 15 feet from where I was sitting. And I was like, because we find lots of Diplodocus, Camarasaurus, less Apatosaurus, but even less Brachiosauruses. And so I was like, oh, I remember I dug for like 2 days, and I found a piece of a bone. It's a Brachiosaurus bone. And they were like, we don't know. So I'm like, great. So the idea of these sauropods, there's a lot. Now, Brachiosaurus, its family, are one of the largest of the land animals. Now, sauropods in general are the largest land animals to ever live, but within the world of sauropod, there's different sauropod morpha. There's different subgroups, and the Brachiosaurus group are one of the larger ones. And when I was a kid, they were the largest known ones. I mean, Titanosaurus are being found, the relatives, which is a video coming up soon. But in some papers, some research, some math is saying that these guys are so massive that they couldn't have more than one leg off the ground. Sorry. They couldn't have one leg off the ground at a time. And so imagine me, like, you're walking 1, 2, now. I can't, I mean, I can only imagine for you, a kid. Imagine, for example, it's really icy on the ground. We were in Texas, but say it does freeze over sometimes. And so, you want to walk on the ice, something slippery, you're going to walk steady, like, you're not going to run, And so the idea is that, imagine like these guys are walking 1 foot, move 1 foot like this, so they're not going to be galloping. And the one from the Glen Rose site, which is not a Brachiosaurus but a cousin, it was walking very hurriedly. And we don't see that very often. It's like when we see sauropod tracks, like in Utah and everything, they're just kind of like meandering along. Because that one, the Glen Rose, is being hunted, a little bit more of a pep in the step. But overall, I would say no, it could not run. Because, elephants kind of run, but they really don't run. When you think running, we're thinking horses and dogs who were taking all their feet off the ground or galloping on. They couldn't do that at all. No, they were too big, they were too heavy at the adult stage. Maybe a small juvenile could, but at the adult stage, no. Number 5. How many venomous dinosaurs were there? Now that is a hard question too. These are very good questions. I will say that. I mean, I did read them beforehand. I'm not like surprised. I had to pick which toys to talk about. But how many venomous dinosaurs were there? Or poisonous dinosaurs? First of all, I have to define this. Everyone knows. Venom versus poison. Venom is when you bite something, you inject something. So spiders can be venomous. Poison's when you ingest something. So think of the poison apple from Snow White. You're eating something that's bad for you. And so venom is a gift you don't want. Poison is a bad decision. You're probably thinking of 2 things. One, in Jurassic Park, the original Dilophosaurus, and it spit venom in Nedry or Newman's face. The real Dilophosaurus is a Papo figure. Was not 4 feet tall, 10 feet long. It was actually like 22 feet long, 23 feet long. As of right now, at the taping of this video, there is absolutely no conclusive evidence that there are venomous dinosaurs. That is the answer to your question. But I will say this. I will say, I know there's one of the prehistoric I'm not sure which one it was. It was an animation documentary kind of thing on dinosaurs. And they had one of the little Slorosaurs from China, and they said, oh, it has these little grooves in its teeth, it could probably be venomous. That is not something that is accepted. Now, speaking of that, accepted, when I keep saying that in my talks, it's like the person writes a paper, it's peer-reviewed. And you're like, what is peer review? And I say, kids, imagine this. You have homework. You send it to your teacher grades it, you get a grade. Peer review is, instead of there being a teacher, every kid in the world, particularly the ones who study what you're writing about, grade your paper. And some of them have to actually approve it or not approve it, and some of them are very mean about it. And so what I'm saying is that there's certain consensus that, like, enough pathologists, I mean, because no matter what you say, there's someone who's going to be like, no, I don't agree with that, a contrarian, if you will. But in the case of this venomous situation, there's no venomous dinosaur that everyone's like, yeah, we can all agree on that, right? And so the answer is no. Behind the scenes in this note, animals with venom have like hollow teeth. So, if you have a venom, you have to get it to your prey, into your prey through a bite or through projection. So we have animals, many snakes today that do those things, and lizards today. So we can look at them. Herpetologists study snakes and reptiles and amphibians, and they look at the hollow fangs, look at the way they project this, or in the way where the fangs sit in the back of their head, that's why the venom sacs in the back of their head. So those are all features you would see in these other animals. And so again, a dinosaur is very different than a lizard, but overall, is that this part right here? No, not yet. Okay, cool. So the idea is that no. The answer is no. So let's see, number 6. What is your favorite dinosaur? I am glad you asked. Brachiosaurus. Now, there's this thing called nostalgia, Ethan, wherein you're 7, so the next like 3 or 4 years of your life, that will be the benchmark for the rest of your life in some ways, as far as what you get excited about. So, for example, I was told recently that I do, I'll say this. To answer it better, I will say this. When I was a kid, back in my day, Brachiosaurus was the... Now we have Jurassic Titan, we have Argentinosaurus, we have Dinosaurs. Back in my day, Brachiosaurus was the thing, And so, and for me, seeing Jurassic Park at a young age and going, and seeing, I mean, this... I can't remember if you did one of the story. I was in El Paso, and my brother was in the military, and he took me and my nephews and my I guess sister-in-law to Jurassic Park, the premiere, and we got into the theater a little late, so I missed the opening scene of the raptor attack. That was a surprise for me to see that in VHS. But the scenes of Brachiosaurus was my first dinosaur scene in the Jurassic Park franchise. It wasn't a terror scene; it was a beautiful scene. And so I already liked Brachiosaurus. I had the toys, the books. When I saw that thing, I was like, that's it. This is a thing. It's like I remember my wife, like, this is what we're doing from now on. And so, side note on that, in Dinosaur Park in Bastrop, near Austin, they have it's really a Jurassic Titan, the whole thing there, but it's a Brachiosaurus-esque model. And when I first found that place, I remember being super excited and walking through it and seeing, turning a corner and seeing the Brachiosaurus. And somewhere on the internet, many years ago, like a decade probably now, there's a picture of me staring and pointing, saying it's a dinosaur, and my wife taking a picture of this emotional moment. And so, yeah, Brachiosaurus is my favorite dinosaur. I know one of my best buds, Alex's wife, Jordan, likes that Brachiosaurus, and people tease her because apparently it's a generic dinosaur, and she's like, well, if Jurassic James liked it, it counts. And I'm like, yes, exactly. So next we have number 7. Could dinosaurs smell with their tongues? Ooh, very good question. So what you're talking about basically is what lizards and snakes, well, mainly snakes, some lizards do too, where I'm thinking like Komodo dragons, and like they'll flicker their tongue out and they'll do this and like this. So what are they doing that? It turns out that they are looking for particles. I mean, smell is particles, right? And so in humans, I remember learning from my magic school bus as a kid. The little particles go in and they plug into these different sensors, and they can say, oh, this is a flower or not, or a poop. And so snakes and lizards will flick their tongues out, and they will take data in and they'll read it on the organ, inside their head. And so the important fun fact, the two flicker. Why are there 2 parts, left and right? It's the same reason you have 2 eyes, 2 ears. Well, not eyes, but 2 ears and 2 nostrils. If something smells, it's coming from this direction, your body goes, it's that way. But you hear a noise, it's that way. So they have the forking out, the snakes and lizards, so that if any particle hits their tongue here and they read it, they go, it's this way. So on that note, I'm going to explain something really quick. Reptilia, okay, it's complicated. But there's 4 major groups. One of them, we're not going to go over because there are no twins of them. They're like lizards, but they're, I can't remember the name on my top of my head. So turtles are their own branch. Turtles and tortoises are their own branch. And they branch off in their own subgroups too. Squamates, this is an Australian taipan, and a dragon, Squamata, which includes mosasaurs too. And then archosaurs, ruling reptiles or crocodiles, and birds like this cassowary. So we have turtles, squamates, archosaurs. So using your tongue to smell is a squamate trait. Now, I'm not saying anyone else couldn't do it, I guess, per se, but there's convergent evolution. But the idea is that we see it in this group. Dinosaurs are archosaurs. They are in the family tree of life. They are between crocodiles and birds. They are birds, technically, and so we don't have any birds to do that. Now, to say that birds don't do it, therefore dinosaurs don't do it, is wrong. What I'm saying is they are further along this branch than that branch. They're over here, not there. This is a very simple way of putting this, but remember, for everyone else who's watching, I'm talking to a child. So, number 8, could dinosaurs regrow their teeth like some lizards do? Oh, most certainly they can. So what's going on here is a very common fossil for dinosaurs are teeth. You wonder why things are called iguanodon and troodon. Don means tooth, like dentist. And so a lot of species we find the teeth only. In fact, when I was digging in Utah with Dr. Jim Kirkland and his team, state of Utah, I found iguanodon bits. Someone found a tooth over there. So the cap of a tooth. So we did not find the whole animal. A tooth shows it was there. This thing lived in the environment, right? And so that's why I brought these things here. So here not yet. That's why I brought this. So, had a plan. There is a plan. I know it seems random. There is a plan in all this. This is my newest cast model that I bought on my second to last trip. Let's see. So this is a cast model of a dentary of an Allosaurus. So it's essentially this part of the jaw. Not this part here, just this part. And so what you're looking at are, that's interesting. There's teeth and they're different sizes. Now that's not a bad dental plan. What's going on is that these teeth, one fell out and another one's growing in. This one fell out. Another one, if it had lived, the animal's based off of, would have grown a new tooth as well. And so dinosaurs have essentially unlimited teeth. So I ask my friends, my kids, I teach, do you brush your teeth? And the hands don't always go up. And I say, humans really should brush your teeth, especially here in the West, because we have a lot of sugar in America in our food, like a crazy amount of sugar. So the point is, I almost went on a rant just there. The point is, dinosaurs did not brush their teeth, and they're dead. No, I'm kidding. Dinosaurs did not brush their teeth, but guess what? They got new teeth. And so for humans, assuming you're all humans watching this, you were born with no teeth, and your baby teeth grew in, and then they're going to fall out one by one, and you get adult teeth. Once your adult teeth are in, if you don't take care of them, they will fall out and be very painful. Just ask George Washington. He had the whole tooth thing. And tooth pain is extremely important, impactful, I guess is the word. So the idea here is that, yes, to answer your question, dinosaurs could repair their teeth. All of them did. Every group of dinosaurs had teeth would grow new teeth. There are some groups that did not have, they only had beaks, but every dinosaur had a tooth would grow new teeth. Constantly, replacing them always. That is a reptile thing to do. Mammals missed that train. I don't know what we did. There are no dinosaur dentists. First of all, they would have been eaten, but second, we just missed that evolutionarily speaking. So mammals have limited teeth, or nothing teeth, or limited teeth, right? So, next we have number 9. Do you have any fossils? T-Rex teeth, for example. And the answer is yes. I have a video. I should probably link to this. Part of my paleo collection. I have a collection. As far as collecting fossils go, if you're in Texas, since Ethan is in Texas, my understanding of this, and again, don't quote me on this, but in general, if you're on not a park, parks do not take fossils. State parks, national parks, they will fine you and give you jail time or whatever. Private property, you're trespassing. They'll take anything. Now, if it's your property, the laws are different. There are dinosaur ranchers who pay me that museums can go to and dig on their ranch. As a part of the Craddock Ranch in Seymour, Texas. My HMNS and my friends on the white side do that. And the idea is there are some people who are for profit. You dig on their property, you find a fossil, you pay them, or etc. And so I have a lot of fossils, mainly invertebrates, because invertebrates, animals without backbones, are much easier to get a hold of. They're much more abundant. They're much less expensive. And in Texas, particularly if you're digging in certain areas, or I always dig with permits with museums and colleges. In those places, when you dig for something, you find it. The museum or college keeps it. And so most of my vertebrate fossils that I teach with are cast. The few real ones I have, either I bought at mineral shows or were gifts to me. So I do have some. Now, you said T-Rex teeth. I have a cast of a T-Rex tooth right here. The real tooth, Tyrannosaurus, it's because, okay, it's a thing called name recognition. So when people vote, when people vote in democracies, a lot of people on the ballot people don't know, but they may have seen your name on the sign. That's why around election time, you see all these signs everywhere. Or the rapper DJ Colin, this is yelling DJ Colin every video. Like when people just know your name, it kind of passes around. And so the idea here is that Tyrannosaurus Rex is like the best publicist of all time, the American people and culture, but also the fact that it's so popular, everyone wants to study it. And when they study it, they produce more papers about it, which means more people will study those papers and try, so it's like a self-fulfilling kind of thing. And so Tyrannosaurus fossils cost more. So I have a cast here for teaching because, one, I can't afford a real one. And two, most of the real ones should be in museums and colleges, right, for research purposes. Harkening to earlier, number 8, this is if you find a Tyrannosaurus tooth this size, it's in the jaw. If you find one this size or smaller, it's a shed tooth. It broke off. So you can see where the Tyrannosaurus tooth would break off, they grow a new one. By comparison, here's an Allosaur tooth. And so you can see in my jaw earlier, my cast jaw, the tooth would fit in there. This is a different scale. This would be a bit bigger animal. And it falls out and breaks off, gets a new one, right? Anyway, but I have a lot of fossils. I will put a link below if you want of my fossil. Now, the page I have on my website is like general fossil page. You can click on like snail fossils and clam fossils. I'm constantly updating it, adding more information, changing it around, so bear with me. But I also have this T-Rex toenail. It's a cast as well. And also this 3D printed composite T-Rex juvenile or baby skull. But again, most of my fossils are either inverts, which are real, and a few real vertebrate fossils, but mainly a lot of casts with nasal backbones. Now we can number 10, the final question, the one that was the most difficult for me. What is the funniest thing you know about dinosaurs? Honestly, I've been putting this video off because I don't have an answer to that. Funny and comedy depends on the person. It depends on perspective. The first thing that comes to mind when I read that was we found allegedly dinosaur puke. That's kind of funny. I don't know why. I do know that, well, when they first discovered it, this is Cryolophosaurus, the frozen lopho-crested saurus lizard from Antarctica. I'm not sure, I haven't updated this, but looked at this, but I remember when I first found a specimen of it, it was said to have been interpreted that it had like some prosauropod bones in its throat, so it may have choked to death. I'm not sure if that's still true. It was a weird jumble of fossils, but if it did choke to death, that's pretty funny. Not for it. It was horrible for that guy, but it was funny for us. We find T-Rex poop with Triceratops bone in it. That's not, I say that and kids laugh, so I'm not sure if that's funny or not. I really thought about this for like a week and a half. What could be the funniest thing about dinosaurs? And I can't. I had no answer, Ethan. I'm so sorry. Jurassic James failed you, because I will tell you this. When I was I didn't know I was silly or funny. When I was a new tour guide, I would just do my tours. I used to work in a college and teach geology students. And then I go to the museum, I started teaching tours, and people were always laughing. I was like, why are y'all laughing? And I remember literally having a tour, I said something, and someone goes, why are you laughing? And I'm like, I said, I said to them, why are you? And they're like, oh, it's funny. And I was like, that's weird. So that's my buddy Chris Wells, who's one of the tour guides, that said, why do people laugh at my tours at me? And he's like, James, you're funny. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he goes, the way you say things is a very funny way of saying it. So I don't know what's really funny or not, because I just say stuff, people laugh. And not at me, but with me. And so I could not think of anything that's funny about dinosaurs at all. So, because I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm so sorry, bud. I got to number 10, and I had those two other stories, and I was like, that's all I have. I don't know anything else. Watch me, like, the moment I upload this, be like, right, the whole thing with this. I can't imagine. Oh, here's an example. There is these dinosaurs called the fighting dinosaurs. There's the Velociraptor and a Protoceratops. The Triceratops was smaller, no horns. I mentioned this before in other videos. And it is, I grew up iconically that this fossil was this thing where this raptor is doing jiu-jitsu. And the Protoceratops has this raptor's arm and his beak. And the raptor's claws are in the thing's gut. It's like they're in the middle of a fight. And a sand dune like flew over and crushed both of them. Insert laughter. But what happened basically is that was something I grew up like, that's this cool thing. And I remember I was watching it, I can't remember who it was, I'm so sorry, but it was a lecture. Because I mean, the assumption was, well, Velociraptor eats Protoceratops, right? I've said it before to some degree. And the idea is that we think that Velociraptor was solitary. And attacking Protoceratops like you and I attacking a cow. Like, that's a big animal. And I remember, I can't remember the lecturer, but he said that if this Velociraptor was either really, really brave or really, really stupid. And I remember thinking that was, and everyone in the audience laughed at that statement. So that's pretty funny. I don't know. I've gone over time. So Ethan, I hope this is what you wanted. Comment below. Tell your mom to give me a message if you want me to, or any more questions you have. If anyone else like this, let me know. Just something. This is fun. It was different. Usually I just talk at you, and then here's questions to go by. I like that. This is fun. With that being said, thank you, Ethan Bradberry, 7 years old, my best friend. I will see you later.